Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we're taking a look at the Finch Knife Company Cimarron. Now, before I go any further in this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some specifications on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.875 inches, which is pretty big for a Finch. Finch seems to be a little more of a smaller knife guy, but getting a little longer with this guy here. I like that a lot. We have a blade length of 3.375 inches with a cutting edge of 3.125 inches. We have a blade width of 0.75 inches with a blade thickness of 0.12 inches. That blade steel being 14C28 and a better than I thought drop point design blade, and I'll go into a little more detail on that here in just a second. We have a blade grind of flat grind with a handle length of 4.5 inches and a handle thickness of 0.44 inches. Look at that green glowing. We have a handle width of 0.875 inches with a handle material of G10, multicolored G10, if you haven't noticed that. And we have a user of tip-up right hand only carry with a weight coming in at 3.11 ounces. And best of all is the price, $89. So Finch is usually north of $100, obviously due to the 14C28 and steel, which is still a good steel, and the G10, you bring the expenses in your materials down a little, you get a little more affordable knife. So really do like that. As far as the overall price, I really don't see a lot of issues. May hit on that a little later in the review, but there wasn't any real sticker shock when I saw this price. I thought it was pretty much in line for what you're getting. Let's take a look at some size comparisons, because this knife is a slender, longer knife, and it when it comes to overall length, you're talking more of the Benchmade 940 as well as your Spyderco Ikuchi. Pretty almost identical lengths there. I think that gives you a very, very good idea of the overall length of this knife. Just line up the tips, and there you go. That's a pretty good comparison for you. I think right there gives most people everything, a lot of the information that they need as far as sizing up the length. And then one other thing that I think is worth pointing out and setting up next to this, because I do think it feels similar with the Ergonomics, is Microtech Ultratech. Now, before you call me crazy and stop watching this video, there's just, when I hold this in hand, I feel that squareness, I feel the length. I don't really feel this a whole lot. The flipper tab, I don't really feel that on my index finger. And outside of the actuator button here on the Microtech, it's very similar. I mean, it's similar in width, length. It's a little rounded down here at the end, but again, I guess I do, maybe that is factoring a little into my grip, but thickness and everything, it's really not horribly far off from an Ultratech in my opinion. So I thought that was actually kind of interesting, worth pointing out, and it's never a bad time to throw a Microtech Ultratech on the table. So there you have it with size comparisons. Now, let's get into this blade. The overall inspiration for this knife design came from a windmill, like the windmill farms you see down in Kansas, and I think it does a good job of resembling that. I definitely see, mainly from the blade up, it does remind me of a windmill. So that's pretty cool. And I also like the edge on this guy. That 14C28 end steel is going to hold a pretty good edge. Going to be pretty good as far as corrosion resistance, and you're also getting a pretty sharp edge reading of 18 to 19 thousandths. It varied a little with my calipers, but not too bad. Not too bad at all, really, especially when you're just talking 0.12 in overall thickness. Makes for a pretty good EDC option. And of course, this comes with the excellent Finch grip chimping. Finch grip jimping. I said jimping. Works pretty well. Also works really well with this knife. And it does. It gives you that, between the width of the handle and the pinch you have here, it really kind of just extends that blade from your hand to where it almost feels like again, it's like the blade just kind of shoots right out of your hand, and it's holding there. That probably sounds really stupid and doesn't make a lot of sense. It's one of those things you kind of just have to hold it in your hand for a second, and I think it may make a little more sense. The blade in general just looks a lot better than I was expecting. I have yet to review a Finch that I didn't like, and I thought this was going to be it. I really did. When I knew it was coming, I wasn't sure about it, but I was excited to see it because, again, like I've said before in previous videos, you really do have to get something in hand and really, you know, flip it, use it, and to get your best thoughts. And overall, I gotta say, I like this blade shape more than I thought. I was really worried about the blade width to handle width. But looking at it now, especially from this side, I notice more of a drop to the point of the blade here. And I was originally thought this was going to be a flat spine all the way back to the tip. And I thought that with the, you know, the lines and sometimes there's too many straight lines in a knife and it can make it look a little wonky. This does have just a slightly subtle drop to the point, and it really does, I think, really save the knife for me. It really does. I wasn't expecting to really love this knife, and I'm turning out to considerably like it. I gotta say, I was so ready when I first time I saw this knife. The first thing I said was, "Oh man, I wish that blade was wider. I really wish that blade was wider." Especially when you get into the handle, moving into the ergos. Like I said before, it feels like to me it kind of reminds me of holding an Ultratech in hand. But just the overall width to blade didn't sit well with me initially. But one thing I noticed that I do like a whole lot is this right here. Very, very nice silhouette when closed. There's no blade sticking out. It's totally seating between the two G10 scales, and it has a very nice clean look when closed. So with that being said, and then also looking up here, you know, I don't want these ergos do feel pretty good. Like I said, my hands do. I've noticed more and more my hands do tend to like a little bit of a squarish, non-contoured scale. I like the contoured scales too, but I really don't have any issues with flat, non-contoured scales, especially a little longer in length. So looking at that, I don't want to change. I wouldn't change anything with these scales and ergos. But I originally thought, you know what, I may change this blade. This blade just looks too narrow for the handle. But when you get up into your Finch grip here and you see the way your finger sits here, if this blade was much wider, because you don't want to add any width to the top because it looks really nice on top. I thought maybe, especially as I looked at the knife closed, I thought, yeah, you know what, there's more room in there to make that blade wider, and a little wider blade would I think make the knife look better. But then I got into actually, again, the knife in hand, using it, and I thought, man, if this was much wider, the bottom of the blade would definitely be rubbing against my index finger, so that would not be good. So taking that into consideration, and now having carried this knife for a few days and using it, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the width of the blade or the handle. And I'm pretty shocked that I'm sitting right here saying this to you guys. So not too bad at all. It was a very well thought out design. The pocket clip on this guy is also pretty decent. In and out of the pocket pretty well. Nothing real special, but it works. It does work, and I think overall it goes pretty well with the design. Now the handle colors on this guy, personally, not exactly my jam, but they are someone's jam. And I really like all the options that Finch made for this knife. You have 4 options, to the best of my ability, from what I've seen. I've seen this style right here, this color option, which is blue and light, kind of a neon green. Then you also have a black and gray, which will probably suit a lot more people. And then you have a yellow and gray, which is okay. Yellow's never been my favorite color on a knife, but again, you're given that variety. And actually, my favorite was a dark, like a forest green and tan, which I thought went really well. Those are 2 good casual colors, I thought. And I really think a knife like that, or even the black and gray, I think this knife would make a decent gentleman's carry knife. You know, you like that. Some people like a little bit of a longer blade on a gentleman's carry or an office carry. I think you get that with this because it's non-aggressive, it's clean, It's again, yeah, clean is definitely the word I would use to describe this knife. It's a very clean design, and the colors can just vary so much. You know, some people are real bubbly and they like their vibrant colors. I'm sure there's plenty of people that really like these colors. So especially in a market like this, when there's so many companies making knives and doing all these things, you got to do little things like this, like what Finch is doing, throwing these odd color options out there. And I think they are probably selling pretty well, because I mean, just looking at this, I don't think it looks ugly. They're not colors I wear on a daily basis, and that's not something that would really just not my favorite. But again, you can always just writ dye these. There's so many things you can do to G10 scales. But again, I think this would be a popular colorway for a lot of people. And if you like more of a casual or earthy tones, that dark green and tan is pretty nice in my opinion. On to the action. The action on this is really smooth. Flies right out, and you close it, it closes pretty darn well. Even for, I know it's a longer blade, but it's also a light blade. So you have to factor that into the action as well. And shuts right up. Pretty darn nice. Also flies out really well. Again, more of a push button. You can light switch it, and it works pretty well. I'm more of just a push button guy in general. I think I've said that before in videos. I think the push button method gives you the best action. At least that's what it feels like for me. So I like doing that a lot, and I always appreciate a good flipper tab that doesn't stab your finger doing that. And even though this one looks like it does, it really doesn't. Doesn't hurt at all. Actually feels completely fine. Really nice detent on this guy. And gosh, going into my overall thoughts, I'm surprised by this one. If I'm ranking it with all the other Finches I've handled, it's still probably a little lower on the list, but only because, like I've said in previous episodes, Finch does a very good job of staying true to the brand he created. So if you like someone's brand, if you like the Finch brand, you're going to like probably all of his knives. So I'm not shocked I like this, but I'm pleasantly surprised I like it more than I thought I would, I think is the best way to put it. But yes, overall, I think for the price and the uniqueness and colorways and options you have here, I think it's a really solid offering. I think if you like the way it looks, as far as quality and action and all that stuff, it's your typical Finch, guys. It's really good. So check it out. I'm going to link his website in the bottom of this video as well, in the description of the video. Check it out. I believe all colors are still available. So pick one up if you like it. Check out his new models coming out for 2021. There's a couple listed on his website. The other ones can be seen on his Instagram. He has a pretty rad Instagram account, so check that out as well. And that's it. That's the Finch Knife Co. Cimarron. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Look forward to reading those. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.